ActiveCampaign core automations. In this video, I'm going to talk about what I think are core automations you want to have in your ActiveCampaign account. And this could be actually any kind of email marketing software service like Infusionsoft, Ontraport, HubSpot, whatever. These to me are kind of the basics, the ones you need to have. And if you had to only have a few, these are what I would choose. I'm going to also show some non-core automations that are useful, but honestly, you need to have these first, then those later. And the first one is what I call like the welcome automation. Also onboarding, kind of letting people know what the next step is, notification, mini survey. And what I mean is if somebody, for instance, signs up to your email list, you want to let them know what's going on, what they can expect, especially if they asked or signed up for something very specific. Tell them what the next steps are, and maybe even notify you or somebody to do something. So for instance, typically when somebody makes a purchase from me, I will get a notification at 8 a.m. the next morning my time. And oftentimes I use that as a way to make a personal video to send to them to say thank you. So they made a purchase within the last 24 hours at 8 a.m. the next day. I'm going to get a notification and sometimes just pull out the phone, make an unlisted video, put it on YouTube, and then send them a link which basically says thank you. Also like a mini survey. A lot of times I like to put in a welcome email that's also asks a question, usually just one question with either 2 answers, 3 answers, something like that. It's not as simple as are you a man or woman, but something related to whatever it is I'm offering. For instance, do they use ActiveCampaign? Do they use Infusionsoft? Something like that. Just enough to get them to do something, to interact with my emails. And you might include confirmation in this part of the setup. Is just getting people to confirm their interest in what they signed up for. So that's like the very first one. Second one is nurturing. And this is where they're getting what they asked for and education's coming along, more information, whatever is appropriate to what they signed up for over time. So you might just be sending out emails about whatever the subject matter is, one per day for 7 days or 30 days or something like that. Pretty basic. Now I bring that up because the next one is what I call choose your own adventure. Let people decide the information they get. And I usually like to do that based on their behavior. Are they clicking a link in an email? Are they visiting certain pages on my website? If they are, and I have content for that in the form of an email, I want to interrupt the nurturing automation and let them go off on their own adventure into another automation related to what they're interested in. A good example that's been implemented a number of times, and this is nothing new, I'm not making up something earth-shattering, this has been done by others, but it does have an impact on your business, is if somebody visits a checkout page, but they don't buy. They don't even have to enter their email address because we'll have installed tracking on their site. We'll know that they visited, and we'll also know that they're not a customer. So send more information about that. Give them something to dig into about it so that if they want, they can go back and then they will buy. And then the last one is hygiene, kind of list hygiene. People that are becoming inactive, you want to follow up with them, give them another chance, and you should have, and I shouldn't say should, I'm going to suggest that you have some kind of automation that someone gets put into right away and they get pulled out of it if they interact with your email. So as soon as they open an email, click a link, they get taken right out, but they then get put right back in. And then every 30, 60, 90 days, you add a tag that says 30 days, no activity, 60 days, no activity, 90 days, no activity. And if they make it to like the last 90-day inactivity, then it's time to send out some emails. Hey, what's going on? Are you interested? And if you don't get a reply, if they don't get pulled out and put back into that hygiene automation, get them off your list. You're not doing anybody a service. You're paying more money because you're keeping a subscriber on your list that's is not interested based on their behavior on what you have to offer. Secondly, it isn't good for your deliverability. And if your deliverability isn't good, that's going to impact your whole list. And it's just kind of a good practice to keep people who are not interested off of your emails. Now, you can get fancy in your emails, and at the bottom, have a link that says, click here if you only want to receive emails once a week, once a month, assuming you're sending emails more frequently. And from there, you can tag people as, interested but not as frequent, and then send out emails based on their preference. That kind of goes back to choose your own adventure. So those to me are kind of the biggies. Welcome them, onboard them, tell them what's coming up, maybe notify yourself or somebody, do a mini survey, and I do mean mini, just like a one-click thing, that's it, no stress. A larger nurturing sequence, but more importantly, people can go off on their own adventure to do whatever it is they want or get more information about certain things while being paused in the nurturing sequence. And then on the hygiene side, making sure people are still interested in what you have to say. So those are, to me, the core automations. And I was just looking through some of the non-core automations. I love all these. I think these are good, but honestly, they're not critical to what you're doing with your email. You can build Facebook custom audiences. And the reason I like to do that through ActiveCampaign is that I know for certain that this person is a customer, because the way I've got it set up, if somebody buys something, they get put into my email system, they get a tag that's appropriate to whatever the product is. Now, yes, I realize there's a pixel out there that will track people's conversion, but I know for certain this works. Sometimes I'm not nearly as confident as the pixel firing properly. Maybe that's just me being paranoid, but that's one thing you can do. Webinar reminders is another one. You could let your webinar system do that, and it works. You could also do it in your email system. A little more challenging because the reminders need to be sent out relative to the start date. So if somebody signs up for a webinar a week in advance, they might get 5 emails. If somebody signs up an hour before a webinar, they might only get 1. So you need to set up an automation that handles those different scenarios. Another non-core automation is the backup one. Somebody joins your list, you automatically back them up to a website on your server or a database on your server. That's usually done via a webhook to a custom script. I know, this is your asset. You want to back it up. Sure, you should trust that it's going to always be there on ActiveCampaign, but verify. Make sure you've got a backup of it somewhere. Customer lifetime value, that's based on somebody making a purchase, increase the value of their lifetime value in a custom field inside ActiveCampaign. Makes it easy to identify who's spent the most money over time. Survey automations, love these, and you can keep them really simple simply by chaining together different web forms. I mean, it's kind of cheating in a way. What I'm saying is set up a web form and have a custom field. The question says, whatever it is, drop down menu, radio button select, they click submit, they go to the next one, which just coincidentally happens to be another web form. You can hide their email and pass it along to the next form if you want, but that's kind of an easy way to do an automation survey using an automation. And then along the same lines, lead scoring. Have some kind of scoring system in place that if somebody does something, they open an email, click a link, make a purchase, you add or you subtract points over time. Yes, ActiveCampaign does have their own built-in version. I like mine a little bit better. I can customize the scenario. For instance, take away points over time. If somebody doesn't do something, doesn't open an email, subtract points. Every time they open, add points. Every time they click, add more points, that type of stuff. Another automation is, keeping track of sales by email in an automation. Kind of important, in my opinion, to know, where your sales are coming from, where your focus should be on, what's working, what's not. Another one, not mine originally, hour scoring. So the idea is you want to send emails when people actually open them. And you can base that on email open rates or when they click on a link. The click on a link is better in my opinion, Usually I like to set up the hour scoring so that it's based on opens originally, so that I can get everybody in the database scored by hour. So if I open an email at 12 p.m. and I can note that. And then going forward, I can put them through an automation so that the next time I send out an email, it goes out at 12 p.m. Not 12:04, not 12:05, not 12:15, but on the top of the hour. So at least it's close to when they last opened. So that's a cool one. Another one's like automatic content upgrade delivery. So for instance, on my website, I've got different content upgrades based on the page that people sign up. That can be automated. You can deliver unique content based on the page they sign up. Another one's like UTM tracking. When somebody joins your list, you could pull out the UTM variables from the query string, push it into ActiveCampaign so that you know where somebody has came from. Now, they may have done this more than once, and the way you can handle that by having basically two UTM custom fields inside ActiveCampaign, one for the first occurrence and one for the most recent occurrence. And that way you've got a pretty good idea of how people are joining your list. And yes, of course, you can then go look in Google Analytics to look at this, but you could also, for instance, say, I want to know all the people that have UTM source equal to whatever, and then you can send a custom message to them. So that's my thoughts on ActiveCampaign and kind of some core automations you'll want to use in yours.